All right, we're going to get started, everyone. Good afternoon. I want to take a minute and thank you all for joining me. Hope everyone is safe. I'm Alison Morris. I'm an attorney at the Cuddy Law Firm in the Westchester office. And we wanted to have this session as a sort of update with OPWDD, the Office for Persons with Developmental Disabilities, what's going on with day program services, and a refresher on OPWDD eligibility, and a quick update on reopenings in the New York City Department of Education. I'm going to be going through this in English and then Spanish, and we also just want to let everyone know we are recording this. So first, I want to go over DOE reopenings. So the New York City Department of Education pushed back their in-person reopenings until September 21st. It is possible this might get pushed back again, so just be prepared for that. Remote learning is slated to start today, September 16th. Teachers have been having prep days this week. Schools have been continuing to prepare the schools and make them as safe as possible for when students return next week. Transportation issues are still getting sorted out. The Office of People Transportation, OPT, is making sure buses are safe, sanitized. They're trying to have transportation in place by the first day that schools reopen, but there might be issues and it might be another few days. So try to arrange for other transportation if possible. Also, you should be prepared in case your child needs to be picked up because they're sick. Have a plan in case you need to do that. You should be getting your routes and information soon if you haven't already. Each bus is supposed to be sanitized each day. Each bus is only supposed to have 25% capacity. And students with IEPs, individualized education programs, are supposed to have priority for busing. That's what we've been told. As we've said and been saying in these webinars, take note of any issues with instruction and transportation as they come up. Let the DOE and the Office of People Transportation know about these issues, but maintain your records if any problems come up. Second, I want to go into OPWDD day program reopenings, and I'm going to put a link into the chat for guidance on this. So beginning on July 15th, OPWDD let everyone know that day programs in New York could begin reopening. Many programs were doing virtual services, and many right now are still doing a mixed version of remote and in-person services. To reopen, day programs had to submit a safety plan. Many submitted the safety plan, and a lot are reopening, and many are working out how to reopen and are trying to submit that safety plan. If your child is in a day program and you have safety concerns, or you have concerns about your day program's safety plan, you should contact the agency and discuss these concerns that you have so that everyone is on the same page. In order to reopen, these day programs had to have screening questionnaires for individuals coming back in, questions like, has this individual had close contact with someone with COVID in the last 14 days? If someone presents with symptoms, they are to be sent home immediately. Someone cannot attend if someone in their house is being quarantined. Staff and employees have intensive protocols. There's social distancing and mask requirements. There's 15-person maximums for groups. That does not include staff or employees. There's a priority for those who need to be on site. We've been told that includes people who have been at home, right? They haven't been able to get out of their home, and so now they need to be getting on site. And there's supposed to be a 50% capacity on vans or busing if they're going to be transported anywhere. If your child is in a day program and you have not heard about the agency's reopening plan, you want to talk to your child's care manager or contact the day program to find out this information. Third, I want to re-go through OPWDD eligibility and the application process for OPWDD. So I'm going to put another link in here for information from OPWDD on what they are looking for and need for these applications. So usually when your child is in their last year of high school, whether that's when they're 18, 21, somewhere in between, you want to apply for these OPWDD services. This is so that your child has programs after they leave school to live a full, independent life and keep acquiring skills. There's 4 factors for OPWDD eligibility. 1, the individual needs to have a developmental disability, so an intellectual disability, autism, cerebral palsy. The developmental, number 2, the developmental disability needed to manifest before the age of 22. If you apply for OPWDD services before your child after your child turns 22, you're more than likely going to have to prove to OPWDD that this disability did in fact manifest or begin before your child was 22. So you really should apply before your child turns 22. It's just one more thing to make it an easier application. Number 3, the disability needs to be indefinite. It's not going to resolve. And number 4, it has to substantially interfere with the individual's ability to function in society. So what do you need to submit to OPWDD to show that your child is eligible for their services? So this application process includes 1, an application cover sheet that is on their website you can get. 2, a psychological evaluation that is no more than 3 years old. And it needs to have an IQ assessment and an adaptive functioning assessment. OPWDD lets you know if your child has an IQ score that is higher than 60, they need that adaptive functioning assessment to include summaries, composite scales, and domain scores. If your child has an IQ score lower than 60, that adaptive assessment can be based on an interpretive report that uses information from interviews with caregivers, record reviews, and direct observations. You still are going to want to have an actual standardized assessment, but you can see what they're telling you here. If your child has a higher IQ, you're going to really want to highlight their low daily living skills and their daily living skill issues. OPWD will deny for any reason it can. They don't want to be finding people eligible for services they don't think need services. And if they think there is a reason to deny, they will. So higher IQ is almost like a red flag for them. But if there's an individual who needs these services, who has daily living skill deficits, hygiene, being out in the community, being safe on their own, managing their money, having these issues, you want to let them know. In addition, OPWDD only accepts certain standardized assessments for these IQ and adaptive functioning tests. Tests that are called WISC, that's an IQ assessment, a Vineland, or an ABAS, an ABAS assessment for that adaptive functioning component. So if you have a sort of non-standardized assessment, but it talks about your child's daily living skills and you want to submit that, OPWDD is likely not going to accept that. You also need to submit a social history that is no more than a year old. You also need to submit a medical report that is no more than a year old. And if your child has something other than an intellectual disability, you're going to want that medical report, that report from your doctor, to support your child's diagnosis. You want information in there to support your child's diagnosis. You also want to submit any additional supporting documents, IEPs, prior evaluations, other documents that do show your child had a disability before 22, their low daily living skills that talk about these issues. You can, of course, submit those as well to OPWDD. You also will need to attend something called the front door. It's very weirdly phrased. You have to attend the front door. It's a front door information session on what services OPWDD provides, what they can do, the different things they offer, like day programs, pre-vocational services to get your child ready to be out in the job field. They need you to attend that before you can move forward. You want the information in these documents. And when you speak with OPWDD, if you need to speak with OPWDD, not to be based on your child's best day or what you think your child might be able to do in the future. This is not the time to puff up or inflate your child's abilities. You really want to let OPWDD know how severe your child's issues and needs are and where they stand. Because again, they will reject for any reason. It's not to say to downplay or to upplay, but you really want to take stock and think what's going on here. Also, if OPWDD tries to have an interview with your child and they say, we can do this interview alone, you really shouldn't allow that to happen. You want to be there to make sure questions are answered correctly. You want to think about, do we want our child to be answering these questions on our own? Questions we don't know what they're asking, what the answers might be. Do we need to be there to correct information or give accurate information? Thank you all so much for attending. We're going to continue to update you guys as information comes out. Stay safe. If you have any questions, we're here for you. I'm going to put our contact information in the group chat as well. We're going to have our topic for next week out shortly, and I know we covered a lot, and so I'm going to keep this open for questions if anyone has any before I switch over to Spanish for a little bit. I'm also going to put in some other resources that might be helpful. And I do also believe that we're going to be presenting on guardianships next week. We have one question about links to the recordings. I think Amanda can chime in. I think they go up on our Facebook page. We got another question about applying for OPWDD and still waiting. It can be a process, unfortunately. What I would do is definitely check in with them, check in with the DDRO, the Developmental Disability, your regional office to make sure, but it can take a while. Unfortunately, I think COVID has only caused to, added to that and the wait time, but even for that, it could take a while. So it might be a bit of a waiting game, but you're doing the right thing. Check to see if anything comes in the mail. If they're asking you for additional information, make sure you get it to them. March, April, May, June, July, August, September. I would follow up with the regional office you sent it in and check and see what's going on with them. There's also a question about if a child has anxiety, using that as an excuse to deny. So different issues your child has isn't necessarily the reason to deny, but again, you need to meet those 4 criteria to be eligible. And so if they don't think that your child has issues functioning in society, if they don't think their daily living skills warrant the need to have to be in a day program, that they need these services, that they need vocational and pre-vocational services, someone to help them get job skills. If they don't think that there's enough information to show them that this is a disability that manifested, that was there before your child was 22, then they might reject, if that makes sense. All right, thank you guys. If anyone has any questions, please let us know. We get it. These are already anxiety-inducing topics, and with everything going on, it can be even more confusing. So please, we are here for you. I'm going to switch over into Spanish, but you have our contact information if you have any questions. Buenas tardes, quiero decirles gracias por asistirlo y esperamos que todos estén seguros. Soy Alison Morris, una abogada con el Cody Law Firm en la oficina en Westchester y queremos tener esta sesión como una actualización sobre Opwdd, la oficina para personas con discapacidades de desarrollo y lo que está pasando con los servicios de los programas del día de Opwdd y una actualización de la elegibilidad y una actualización rápida de las reaperturas escolares en el Departamento de Educación de New York City. Estamos grabando eso, entonces empezamos. Primero, quiero hacer una actualización rápida de las reaperturas escolares en el Departamento de Educación. Las reaperturas no van a ocurrir hasta que el 21 de septiembre, pero es posible que esta fecha no es seguro y puede cambiar de nuevo también. El aprendizaje a distancia va a comenzar hoy, el 16 de septiembre, y los profesores han tenido días de preparación esta semana y las escuelas están siguiendo a preparar las escuelas para hacerlos lo más seguro como posible para cuando los estudiantes regresan. Hay problemas de transportación que todavía la oficina de transportación de los estudiantes y el Departamento de Educación todavía está arreglando la transportación y OPT, la Oficina de Transportación de los Estudiantes, está haciendo seguro que todos los autobuses estén seguros y desinfectados. Y OPT está tratando de tener la transportación en efecto por el primer día de escuela en el 21 de septiembre, pero quizás OPT va a necesitar algunos días más. Entonces, deben prepararse por eso. También se ha preparado en el caso de que su niño necesite ser recogido porque está enferma. Tiene un plan para eso. Debe recibir la información sobre la ruta de su niño pronto si usted todavía no lo ha recibido. Cada autobús va a ser desinfectado cada día y la capacidad de cada autobús es 25%. Y nos han dicho que los estudiantes con los IEPs, los programas individualizados de educación, tienen la prioridad. Como hemos dicho, por favor, nota cualquier problema que ustedes tienen con la instrucción y la transportación. Dígalo al Departamento de Educación y al OPT sobre cualquier problema y mantenga un registro de todos esos problemas. Segundo, quiero hablar sobre las reaperturas de Opwdd, la Oficina para las Personas con Discapacidades de Desarrollo y los programas del día. Hay un alcance en el group chat sobre esa información, pero empezando en el 15 de julio, los programas del día podrían reabrir. Muchas estaban haciendo servicios virtuales y todavía muchas están haciendo una mezcla de servicios a persona y a distancia. Reabrir, los programas del día van a entregar un plan de seguridad. Muchos han entregado su plan de seguridad y han reabierto o están trabajando para reabrir. Si tiene alguna preocupación sobre el plan de seguridad de su programa del día, necesita y debe hablar con su agencia sobre eso. Para reabrir, programas del día necesita tener un examen de los individuales asistiéndolo. Si una persona presenta con síntomas, será enviada a casa inmediatamente. Una persona no puede asistir si una persona en su casa está en cuarentena. Los empleados tienen protocolos intensivos. Hay requisitos de distancia social y que personas necesitan llevar las máscaras. Hay un límite de 15 personas en grupo para servicios sin incluyendo los empleados. También hay prioridad para las personas que necesitan ser en sitio. Y, por ejemplo, como las personas que han sido en sus casas. Y hay capacidad de 50% en los vans si los programas del día van a hacer transportación a algún lugar. Si su niño está en un programa del día y no ha oído sobre el plan de la agencia, sobre su reapertura, debe hablar sobre su agencia con su care manager y contacta al programa del día para averiguar lo que está ocurriendo y los próximos pasos. Tercero, quiero revisar la elegibilidad para Opwdd y el proceso de aplicarlo. También hay un alcance en el group chat sobre Opwdd está buscando en las solicitudes por sus servicios. Entonces, usualmente cuando su niño está en la última año de escuela secundaria, si es cuando su niño tiene 18 años o 21 años, es cuando ustedes quieren entregar una solicitud para los servicios de Opwdd. Eso es para que su niño pueda tener programas y servicios después de escuela secundaria para vivir y hacer una vida plena y independiente y seguir de adquirir habilidades. Y hay 4 factores para elegibilidad. 1. Su niño necesita tener una discapacidad de desarrollo, discapacidad intelectual, autismo, la parálisis cerebral, por ejemplo. 2. La discapacidad necesita manifiesto antes de que su niño tiene 22 años. Si aplica después de que su niño tiene 22 años, más que no necesita aprobar al Opwdd que la discapacidad sí manifestó antes de que su niño tiene 22 años. Entonces, es mejor que aplique antes de que su niño tiene 22 años. 3. La discapacidad está indefinida. Y 4. La discapacidad interfiere sustancialmente con la habilidad de funcionar en sociedad. Entonces, ¿qué necesita entregar para mostrar a Opwdd que su niño es elegible para sus servicios? Y el proceso de solicitud incluye un impreso de solicitud. 2. Una evaluación psicológica no más de 3 años de edad. Y necesita incluir evaluaciones de coeficiente intelectual y de funcionamiento adaptivo. Y si su niño tiene un coeficiente intelectual más de 60, necesita incluir una evaluación estandarizada del comportamiento adaptivo, incluidas las puntuaciones resumidas, compuestas, de escala y de dominio. Si el coeficiente intelectual de su niño es menos de 60, la evaluación de funcionamiento adaptivo puede ser basado en un informe interpretativo utilizando la información recopilada de entrevistas con los cuidadores, revisión de registros y observaciones directos. Entonces, lo que nos dicho es que si su niño tiene un coeficiente intelectual alto, quiere empatizar los problemas de los estrellas diarias de vida de su niño. Y también, y eso es porque Opwdd va a rechazar por cualquier razón que puede. Entonces, quiere mostrar que su niño tiene tiene todos de los 4 factores. También, Opwdd solo acepta algunas evaluaciones estandarizadas por estas evaluaciones de coeficiente intelectual y de funcionamiento adaptivo. Evaluaciones se llama WISC, Vineland, ABAS. Entonces, tenga esto en cuenta, porque si tú tienes un reporte que habla sobre los problemas de destrezas diarias de vida, quizás no vale por Opwdd. Necesita algunas cosas específicas. También necesita una historia social no más de 1 año de edad. Y también necesita un informe médico no más de 1 año de edad. Y si su niño tiene una discapacidad, otro de discapacidad intelectual, ese informe médico debe apoyar el diagnóstico. También quiere, si quiere, pero debe incluir algunos documentos en apoyo, como el IEP, las evaluaciones anteriores y otros documentos que muestran discapacidad antes de 22 y problemas con destrezas diarias de vida, solo con documentos en apoyo. También necesita asistir a algo que se llama front door. Es una frase muy rara, pero es una sesión de información sobre los servicios de Opwdd, lo que puede darle a su niño, servicios como programas del día y servicios para que su niño pueda recibir más habilidades para que pueda obtener un trabajo. La información en esos documentos y cuando habla con OPWDD, si necesita hablar con OPWDD, no debe ser basado en el mejor día de su niño, lo que puede hacer en su mejor día, o lo que quizás puede hacer en el futuro. No es el tiempo de inflar las habilidades de su niño. Si quiere decir a OPWDD qué tan severas las necesidades y cuáles son los problemas de su niño. También, si OPWDD tratar de tener una entrevista con su niño, pero quiere hacerlo solo con una persona y su niño, no debe permitirlo. Usted quiere estar allá para ser seguro que las preguntas se responden adecuadamente. Muchísimas gracias por asistirlo. Vamos a darle información cuando nosotros lo tenemos. Cuídense y si ustedes tienen alguna pregunta, nuestra información también está en el group chat y la tema para la semana próxima va a ser sobre las tutelas. Y también hay otras organizaciones y agencias que pueden darle a ustedes información sobre todo. Si ustedes tienen alguna pregunta, yo estoy aquí para ustedes ahora, pero también ustedes tienen nuestra información de yo y también de Amanda Ford en el group chat. There's a question, if agencies offer evaluations, are they doing it in person? Can they get evaluations, for instance, through YAI? It depends on the evaluations, it depends on the agency. Some are doing them in person, some are doing them over the phone. I know YAI did a social history over the phone. I know agencies such as Kate's, if perhaps you wanted to chime in, Kate, are starting to do some evaluations in person. So I think if you're needing to get these evaluations, I would start talking to agencies and evaluators and see what they can do, what can be done, and what you might need to submit to OPWDD, what you need to get now that's new that you want to submit. If that makes sense. And I'm also going to say that in Spanish. I'm trying to get the information for New York Therapy Placement Services. They also do, can talk to you about the evaluations. I'm just going to put their website in here. And if people are looking for other referrals, we can, of course, sorry, having some technical issues, give referrals to other people as well. Entonces, la pregunta era si una persona necesita una evaluación para entregar la solicitud al OPWDD. Organizaciones y agencias están haciendo las evaluaciones en persona o virtual, por teléfono. Y depende de la agencia. Yo sé que YAI está haciendo, por ejemplo, la historia social por teléfono y depende de la agencia, quizás necesita y puede hacer en persona o quizás no puede y necesita saber y pensar en lo que necesita para la solicitud y en las evaluaciones y hablar con la persona y la agencia que está haciendo la evaluación. A person asked about changing from in-person to remote. They don't know who's going to be the teacher. School's not sending information. What can you do? You sent in information today asking for information. So you're doing exactly the right thing. You want information, note the issues you're having, and you're keeping a record of it. So those emails, following up, that's a record. It's, it's not a phone call, it's an email. I'm again asking for this information. Keep making notes of the issues, keep maintaining your record of asking for it. And if it doesn't get resolved, you need to talk to someone to get information about next steps. You have that, I continue to ask for information, we just can't get it, but you're doing what I would recommend you do. Give them, a little bit of time, right? It's a little bit crazy right now, but you're trying to get information for your child and what they need. Send the emails, right? Maybe not 20 a day, but sending emails, you're trying to get information, and you have your record, keep noting the issues. Una persona pregunta lo que podría hacer. Una persona cambia la educación de la persona a distancia, no sabe qué es la profesor, la escuela no está dando a esa persona cualquier información que puede hacer esa persona, está enviando correos electrónicos. Yo dije que eso es lo que puede hacer. Nota cualquier problema con la instrucción y mantenga su registro con esos correos electrónicos. Y darle a la escuela algún tiempo, pero nota los problemas y si todo resuelve bien, y si no, tiene sus registros. Someone asked if they can get an IEP for this 2020 to 2021 school year. You don't have one. If you had an IEP meeting and you're waiting for the IEP, you should definitely follow up to get that. If you're saying you didn't have an IEP meeting, you absolutely can and should ask for that meeting. Una persona pregunta si no tiene una reunión para el programa individual de educación por este año escolar. Y yo dije, si tiene una reunión pero no tiene el documento, sí puede preguntar por eso, obviamente. Y también si está esperando por una reunión pero todavía no tiene, sí puede preguntar por una reunión. For the person who's asking, can a child who's 15 be switched into D75 school? So everything depends on the child's needs, and it should be tailored to what they need. So I can't, if you want to talk to us, outside and after this, nothing says they can't, but everything is supposed to be based on what they need. Una persona pregunta si una persona que tiene 15 años puede ser cambiada a una escuela de distrito 75 en ese punto en tiempo. Y la respuesta es, sin más información, no puedo decir sí o no, y si esa persona quiere hablar conmigo o con nosotros afuera, está bien, pero todo necesita ser basado en lo que el niño, el estudiante necesita. All right, if anyone has any questions or if anyone feels like they need to talk to us or ask questions, outside of this, please, you have our contact information. We are here for you guys. Have such a great rest of your week. Thank you all for coming. Muchísimas gracias por asistirlo. Si tiene alguna pregunta y quiere hablar con nosotros afuera de eso, por favor, ustedes tienen nuestra información. So I can't really get into specifics of, of those, transfer from one D75 to another. It's a little outside of this topic. But if you wanted to talk outside of this, you're having issues, please let us know. I would say, speak with the district and the Department of Education. I am, sorry that they're having a lot of issues. Thank you guys so much. Have such a good rest of your week. You have our contact information, and yes, this is going to be, I believe Amanda said this is going to be reposted to our Facebook page today. Thank you guys so much for coming.